She saw him before he saw her. That was the only advantage she had, and she used it to stand perfectly still with a champagne flute in her hand and calculate every exit in the room. Derek Walsh. 14 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days since he left her by text message. Here, now, in a charcoal suit, his arm around Cassandra Harrington, only child of Richard Harrington, heir to one of the oldest fortunes in New York, laughing the way he always laughed, like the room had been arranged for his comfort. Elena Reyes had worked too hard to be in this room to run from it, but her feet had stopped moving. The Meridian Foundation Gala occupied the 47th floor of a tower on 57th Street. 300 people. Gold light. Crystal flutes. Manhattan spread below the windows like a circuit board, glittering and indifferent. She had almost not come tonight, had the excuse half-typed on her laptop in Astoria, the cursor blinking at her. She had closed the laptop, put on the gray dress, and taken a rideshare because the subway would take 40 minutes, and she was already late. She had not known Derek would be here. She found Jade Kim first. Deep green dress, iced coffee smuggled in from the cart on 48th Street, positioned near the windows with the focus of a field commander. "You survived the elevator," Jade said. "Barely. Where is he?" "By the bar. Arrived 8 minutes ago. Shut down a very aggressive sales pitch from a man in a navy suit and has been standing there since. Alone. Looking like he owns the building. He does own the building. He owns the company that owns the company that owns the building. Technically." Jade looked at Elena. "You look good. The gray works. Is Harrington here yet?" "Not yet. You have maybe 20 minutes before Nathan Cole becomes a target, and you have to do actual work." Elena moved through the room the way she always had, with purpose, with the pleasant expression she had spent years refining, stopping at the right clusters, asking the questions that made people feel interesting. She was good at this. She had built the skill the hard way. She was near the north windows when the cold hit the back of her neck. She turned. Derek was 20 feet away, looking right at her. He smiled. He started walking over. Her brain ran the calculations. Bathroom, far side of the room, window, fire exit. All of them felt like exactly what they were, running. And Elena Reyes had promised herself she was done running. A warmth materialized at her left shoulder, steady, solid. She did not need to look. "I need you," she said quietly, "to be my boyfriend for the next 10 minutes. A pause, not a long one. Then, 5 years minimum? 10 minutes is an insult to my acting ability." Nathan Cole stepped up beside her. His hand found the small of her back with the ease of someone who had been doing it for years. Derek Walsh arrived wearing his best smile. "Elena, I didn't know you'd be here." "Why wouldn't I be? I work for Cole Ventures." "Right, of course." Derek's eyes moved to Nathan. Something shifted behind them. Not fear, but a recalibration. He extended his hand. "Derek Walsh. We haven't officially met." Nathan looked at the hand for 1 second longer than necessary, then shook it. "Cole." He let go, said nothing else. The silence that followed was the most effective silence Elena had ever experienced in her professional life. From across the room, Jade texted, "I am watching your boss freeze a man with eye contact alone. He's incredible. I love him. Do not tell him I said that." Cassandra Harrington stepped into the circle, warm smile, genuine warmth actually, which made everything more complicated. "Elena, I've heard so much about you from Daddy. Your Westfield campaign was brilliant. Thank you. This is Nathan." We know each other, Nathan said. Cassandra. Good to see you. Perfectly pleasant. Gave away nothing. You too, Derek said, his eyes moving between them. Are you together? And Nathan, without looking at Elena for permission or guidance or a signal of any kind, turned and looked at her the way someone looks at a person they have decided is the most important thing in the room. Quiet, precise, not theatrical. We are, Nathan said. Across the room, Richard Harrington, 71, silver-haired, the kind of wealthy that functions like gravity, watched. His assistant spoke. He nodded slowly. At the entrance, Margaret Cole, 6 minutes late in black Dior, went very still. Derek Walsh smiled with his mouth and watched Nathan Cole's hand on Elena Reyes's back and thought, this is going to be a problem. The car ride home was 22 minutes of silence and consequence. Nathan's Mercedes S-Class. His driver Marcus, who had the demeanor of a man who had seen everything and chosen to remember none of it. Elena slid in. Nathan followed. The door closed. Manhattan moved past the windows. They did not speak for 4 blocks. Then Nathan said, without turning from the window, that went better than expected. I owe you an apology. For what? For using you without asking. He said nothing immediately. She watched his profile against the city lights. Sharp jaw, the slight tension that meant he was choosing his words. He left me 14 months ago, she said. She didn't know why she said it. It was dark. They were moving. It felt safer to say true things when you couldn't see the other person's face clearly. He left me for Cassandra Harrington. By text. She smoothed the dress over her knees. I'm not over it, which I know is pathetic given the timeline. It's not pathetic. She stopped. Grief doesn't follow timelines, Nathan said. Anyone who says 14 months should be sufficient has never had anything worth grieving. She looked at him. Something in those words didn't feel like a platitude. It felt like something he knew personally. She filed that away. At her building in Astoria, Marcus double-parked. Nathan reached across, not touching her, just reaching, to get her door. She turned to him. Thank you. For tonight. We have a problem, Nathan said. Elena went still. He told her cleanly. Harrington had seen. His assistant had confirmed before they left. Richard Harrington believed they were in a relationship, and the current state of the merger discussions required that impression to hold. You're telling me he's more likely to do the deal if you're in a relationship. His mother's attorney had already called. Harrington was, quote, pleased to see Nathan settling down. And Margaret had called Nathan twice in the car, which meant she had heard and was not pleased. What happens if we say it was a misunderstanding? The Harrington deal collapses. My mother retakes board control. I lose the autonomy I've spent 6 years building. He paused. And Derek Walsh, who has a direct line to Richard's ear, will describe you in every relevant conversation as erratic. He's already told Cassandra. Jade overheard and sent it to me at 11:43. Jade, Elena said. She is extremely thorough, Nathan agreed. A taxi rolled past. A dog walked the sidewalk below with urgent midnight focus. What exactly are you proposing? Nathan looked at her. Not cold, contained. An enormous amount of feeling that had never been taught where to go. 3 weeks. The Harrington deal closes November 9th. 2 more events together. Your role at Cole Ventures continues without disruption. When the deal closes, we separate quietly. This costs you nothing. Elena Reyes had been calculating what things cost since she was 12. She was doing it now. What do I get? Not combatively, just clearly. Nathan almost smiled. The smallest version, just a loosening at the corner of his mouth. What would you like? She thought about the Caldwell account. The one she'd been passed over for in August when Gregory Whitmore, 8 months junior to her, had been handed the lead. She thought about every meeting where her ideas landed without her name attached. The Caldwell account, lead position, credit in all presentations, a formal written confirmation from you. Done. That fast? Yes. She looked at him for a long moment. Okay, 3 weeks. Professional. No one on the team knows except Jade. And Jade already knows because Jade knows everything. Clear boundaries, clear exit. Agreed. She got out of the car. She was almost to her building door when she heard him. Elena. She turned. He was leaning slightly out of the open door, city light on his jaw. He looked like someone who had just realized something and didn't know what to do with it yet. You don't have to perform, he said. Just be yourself. It will be more convincing. He pulled the door shut. The car pulled away. Elena stood on the sidewalk and looked up at the October sky. Overcast, orange with light pollution, not romantic at all. And felt something shift in her chest she could not immediately name. It was not until she was inside, sitting on her bed with her shoes still on, that she understood. Nathan Cole had said just be yourself, with the complete conviction of a man who found that self-worth the instruction. The thing about lying is that it requires continuity. Elena had understood this intellectually. What she hadn't accounted for was how strange it would feel to walk through the Cole Ventures lobby Monday morning, knowing that 46 people had watched her boss hold her hand on Friday night, and none of them knew what was real. 2 people from the marketing floor looked at her differently in the elevator. She kept her face neutral and professional, and took the elevator to 22. Jade was at her desk with an iced coffee from the 48th Street cart. She looked at Elena over the rim with the focused energy of someone who had been waiting since 11 p.m. Friday. Sit down, Jade said. I have a 9 o'clock. It's 8:42. I have 17 questions. Elena sat. Jade set down the coffee. First, his hand on your back. That was situational. It was not situational. That was a choice. He put his hand on your back like he had thought about it. Jade, I am a scientist of human behavior. Jade retrieved the coffee. Second question, what happened in the car? Elena told her. The agreement, the terms, the timeline. Jade listened without interrupting, which was how Elena knew she was taking it seriously. When Elena finished, Jade was quiet for 4 seconds. The Caldwell account, Jade said. He just said yes. Immediately. Jade stared at her. Elena, do you understand how long I've watched Gregory Whitmore take credit for your ideas while Nathan Cole said nothing? And the one time you ask for something, I didn't ask in a normal conversation. The context was that you asked for what you're worth, and he said yes without hesitation. That is information. Elena opened her laptop. Jade, I need you to be my friend and not my narrator. I'm always both. Jade picked up her keyboard. But I'm telling you, 3 weeks is a long time when you're in close proximity to someone who actually sees you. Elena opened her email. At the top, schedule amendment, Caldwell account, E. Reyes lead, CC legal. Sent at 7:58 a.m. She stared at it, opened it. The formal written confirmation was already attached, a memo to the entire executive team. Elena Reyes, lead director, Caldwell account. Signed by Nathan Cole at 7:45 a.m., she had asked at midnight. He had done it before 8. Her phone buzzed. Nathan. The Harrington dinner is Thursday. My mother will be there. Fair warning, she won't be warm. It has nothing to do with you personally. Elena typed, Does she know? Nathan. About the arrangement? Yes. She was informed this morning. She wasn't pleased. Elena. You told me that. What I'm asking is, does she know it's not real? The longest pause she had ever received from him. Nathan Cole responded within 90 seconds to every message she had ever sent. She had worked for him 2 years. She knew his rhythms. This pause was 4 minutes. Then, she suspects. She does not have confirmation. As far as the world is concerned, it is real. As far as the world is concerned. She thought about his hand on her back. She thought about the memo sent at 7:45. She thought about what Jade had said. That is information. And told herself firmly she was not going to do anything foolish with it. At 9 o'clock, she walked into the weekly meeting, sat across from Gregory Whitmore, who had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. Nathan ran the table with his usual precision. Agenda, decisions, assignments, out in 40 minutes. At the very end, the Caldwell presentation framework will come from Elena's team. All revisions through her. He looked around the table. Clear? A chorus of affirmatives. Gregory nodded at his notebook. Elena kept her expression even. After the room cleared, she lingered. Nathan was making a note with his Mont Blanc pen. You didn't have to do that in the meeting. He looked up. You have the account. It's not useful to have your colleagues uncertain about your authority. That's logical. Most things worth doing are. She was almost at the door when she stopped. Thank you. Not for tonight. For the account. She heard him pause. You've earned it for 18 months. I was slow. I apologize for that. She turned. He was looking at her directly, not with the softness of someone apologizing to smooth things over, with the precision of someone who means exactly what they say and knows the weight of the word. She nodded once. Left. In the hallway, Jade was leaning against the wall with her iced coffee, wearing the expression of someone who has witnessed something significant and is absolutely going to talk about it later. The Caldwell account was a brand revitalization for a mid-century Manhattan hotel chain Cole Ventures had acquired 6 months prior. 5 properties, good bones, a loyal but aging customer base, a brand identity that felt like it hadn't been updated since the first iPhone. Elena had been sitting with ideas since August. Now she had 3 weeks to deliver. She worked the way she always worked, early mornings and late evenings, MacBook open at the kitchen table in Astoria, coffee going cold, notebooks with color-coded tabs. She built the framework from scratch, repositioning visual identity, a campaign strategy built on the idea that luxury isn't about newness, but about depth. She called the concept Welcome Home. Nathan read every draft she sent. That was the thing she hadn't anticipated. He didn't just approve, he engaged. He asked questions that forced her to defend her assumptions. When they held, he said so. When they didn't, he didn't soften it. She liked that. She had never been offered straight feedback without the performance layer that men in his position usually required. At 10:30 on a Tuesday night, he sent, The demographic targeting section is too conservative. You're selling depth, but only chasing an audience who already values it. What about the 40-year-old who doesn't know yet that they're tired of novelty? She looked at this for a minute, then typed, Are you still in the office? Because that question requires a whiteboard. A pause. Then, come up. The 38th floor at 10:45 on a Tuesday night was a different world. Quiet, lit only near Nathan's office. Manhattan through the glass like something curated. The faint smell of good coffee and cedar and paper. His door was open. He was at the standing desk, monitor showing the deck, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow. Elena noted this detail the way you note something you didn't intend to find interesting. Whiteboard is there. Don't use the red marker. It's dry. She found a black marker and talked through the demographic angle for 40 minutes. He listened, he challenged, he added one thing, a specific post-pandemic luxury market shift she hadn't considered, and it was good, and she told him so, and he almost smiled. They ordered from the Thai place on 52nd Street that apparently delivered at any hour because of a standing arrangement with the building manager. She sat on the small couch. He sat across from her in the chair she suspected he never used during business hours. They ate. The city worked silently below them. "Tell me about the name," he said. "Welcome home? Where did it come from?" She considered how honest to be. Then, "My mom worked double shifts when I was a kid. Sometimes on summer weekends she'd pool enough together for one night at a hotel in the city. Just Queens to Manhattan. 20 minutes. She'd get us room service and let us watch movies on the big TV, and she'd say, 'This is how it should always feel.'" He waited. Like coming home, but to the version of home that takes care of you, which is a very specific thing to want. But I think more people want it than we're accounting for. Nathan was quiet. "She takes care of you," he said. "Your mother." "Mine," he said, and stopped. "Takes a different approach. Not bitterness, just a notation of fact. She believes that preparing someone for the world means removing the expectation of comfort." He looked at the window. "She's not wrong that the world is uncomfortable. She's wrong about the cost." Elena looked at him. He caught her looking. Something shifted in his expression. Not shutting down, but aware. As if he'd said more than he meant to and was deciding if that was a problem. "It's not," Elena said, before she knew she was going to say it. He looked at her. "A problem. What you said. It's not a problem to say something true." A pause. The city hummed. The food sat between them. "You do that," he said finally. "Do what?" "Answer the unspoken part." He said it carefully. Not a compliment. An observation that surprised him. "You've done it twice now. You hear what someone is actually asking. 20 years of watching people's faces and guessing what they need," she said. "You develop pattern recognition. Where did you learn that?" "My father left when I was 12. She said it simply. When someone in your house is always about to leave, you get very good at reading the room. She hadn't planned to say that. It came out the way things come out at 11 at night when the city is quiet and the distance between two people has compressed. Nathan went very still. "I'm sorry," he said. "Not your fault." Still. He looked at her. Just him. A man sitting across from someone he hadn't expected, trying to figure out what to do with that. "I'm sorry that happened to you." Elena Reyes picked up her chopsticks and changed the subject, but she carried those 4 words home at midnight, and she was still carrying them when she fell asleep. Margaret Cole was exactly what Elena had been told to expect, and also somehow more. She was 62 and immaculate in the way of women who have always had the resources to be immaculate and have decided to weaponize it. Black Dior, perfect posture, a smile that arrived several seconds after her eyes, which meant it was a decision, not a reflex. The dinner was at per se. Nathan had texted that morning. "Wear something that won't make you uncomfortable. You don't have to perform anything. Just be who you are. She had stood in her closet 10 minutes longer than she intended. In the end, the navy dress, the pearl earrings her mother had given her, the heels she'd bought for 2 weddings and kept in the box since. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and thought, "This is who you are. This is enough." Nathan was already at the table when she arrived. He stood when she entered. She filed that away as a detail she hadn't expected, and looked at her for one silent moment before saying, "Good." Margaret arrived 4 minutes later. The temperature of the table dropped 10 degrees. Elena Reyes. "Nathan has told me almost nothing about you. That's not unusual for Nathan. He's not someone who overshares." Margaret's eyes moved to her son. Nathan was looking at Elena with something that might have been appreciation. The dinner was a sustained, sophisticated examination. Margaret asked about Elena's background with the kind of interest that was actually the opposite of interest, the gathering of information for strategic use. She asked about Queens with an inflection that made the borough sound like a condition. She asked about Elena's family with the careful curiosity of someone exploring a wound. Elena answered everything cleanly. She did not apologize for anything. She did not perform upward mobility or pretend to be something she wasn't. She had grown up knowing that the most dangerous thing you can do when you're being assessed is to let the assessment be the thing you're most aware of. Partway through the main course, Margaret set down her fork with the faint click of someone calling a meeting to order. "Elena, I'll be straightforward with you. Please. This arrangement," a brief glance at Nathan, "serves a specific purpose. I expect you understand that. The Harrington deal is important to this family and to this company. I am not opposed to Nathan being seen with someone during this period. What I am opposed to is anyone confusing temporary arrangements for something more durable." "Mother." One word from Nathan. Very quiet. It contained a great deal. "I'm only being honest," Margaret said. She looked at Elena with something that was almost, in another context, respect. "You seem like an intelligent woman. I'd rather speak plainly." "Then I will too." Margaret waited. "I am not confused about anything," Elena said. "I know what this is and what it isn't. And with respect," she kept her voice perfectly even, "I'd rather have this conversation once and not again. Whatever assumptions you have about what I want or what I'm capable of, I'd suggest you reassess them. Not because you're wrong about everything, because you're working with incomplete information." Silence. Margaret looked at her for a long moment, then at her son, then back. Something had shifted, not warmth, not yet, but recognition. Nathan's hand moved on the table just slightly toward Elena's side, not touching, just moving. She noticed. She chose not to. They finished dinner. The conversation became, by degrees, almost normal. Margaret asking about the Caldwell concept with genuine interest in the business logic. Nathan asking for more water with the precise timing of a man preventing his mother from circling back to something dangerous. In the car afterward, Nathan said, "You didn't blink. I never blink. That's the point." A pause. "She was right that you're intelligent," he said. Elena looked out the window at the city. "She was right about a lot of things," Elena said, including some things she didn't mean as compliments. Nathan Cole said nothing, but in the dark of the car, she saw the corner of his mouth move, and that, she would later decide, was when she began to understand that he was not who he appeared to be, that the walls were not him. They were what he'd been given instead. The second event was a private industry dinner on the 31st floor of the Harrington Tower. Different crowd. Smaller. The galas were performance. This was where decisions were actually made. Elena wore the emerald dress. Jade had found it at a consignment shop in the West Village 2 years ago and told her she was obligated to wear it to every important event for the rest of her life. She had not disagreed. Nathan met her in the lobby. He looked at the dress for exactly 2 seconds. "Good choice," he said. Elena raised an eyebrow. "The color makes an argument," he said. She didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing, which was often the right choice around him. Inside, the room was smaller, and the conversation was denser. The kind of room where every exchange has a second exchange running underneath it. Elena was good at this. She could track 2 conversations at once, hold her own position while mapping the rooms. It was the skill she'd built from survival. She introduced Nathan to 3 people he didn't know. He did not need the introductions. He was Nathan Cole. But he accepted them with the same stillness he brought to everything, and afterward he said quietly, "The woman from the architecture firm. She'll be useful." Good catch. She hadn't known she was being assessed. The assessment felt, strangely, like a compliment. Harrington himself appeared at 8:30. He spoke with Nathan for 20 minutes about terms she wasn't privy to. Elena spent those 20 minutes with Harrington's CFO, a dry, sharp woman from Connecticut, who had opinions about the welcome home concept that were worth hearing. Derek was not here. That was something. At the end of the night, standing on the sidewalk waiting for Nathan's car, the temperature had dropped to the kind of cold that October carries when it's reminding you that November is coming. Elena had her coat. It was not sufficient. Nathan shrugged off his scarf without a word and settled it around her neck. She looked up at him. "You'll be cold," she said. "I have a high cold tolerance." He looked down at her with the particular expression she had been cataloging, not blank, as she'd first assumed, but controlled. There was always something behind it. She was just now learning how to look. "You don't have to do that," she said. "No one's watching." He held her gaze. Then, "I know." The car arrived. The scarf was cashmere. It smelled like cedar and clean air and something she couldn't name. In the car, she held the end of it and thought about the way he'd said "I know" and what it meant that he'd done it anyway. Jade texted at 11:15. "How was the dinner?" Elena. "Good. Productive." Jade. "And?" Elena. "And nothing." Jade. "I have 17 data points that say otherwise. Good night." She put her phone down and looked at the scarf on her counter when she got home. She meant to return it. She did not return it. The next morning at the office, Nathan was in a 7 a.m. call. His assistant sent Elena the Harrington follow-up summary. He had had it drafted before she arrived. At the bottom of the summary, a handwritten note had been scanned in. His handwriting, clean, precise, the same script she recognized from meeting notes. It said, "The CFO liked you." I heard her say so. For the record, so did I. Elena read it twice. Then she set it face down on her desk and made herself open the Caldwell file. She was halfway through the deck when she thought, "I am in trouble." And the most alarming thing about it was that she didn't particularly want to get out. She found it by accident. She had been in the document archive on the Cole Ventures internal server looking for the original Westfield campaign brief, the one she needed to reference for a Caldwell comparison slide, when the search returned a folder she hadn't been looking for. The subject line was, "Strategic Account Planning, Q2 Assessment, Annotated." She opened it because it had her name in the summary. It was 18 months old, a planning document from a cycle she had barely been aware of, the kind of internal assessment she was too junior to be part of at the time. Nathan's personal annotations were in the margin of a shared executive document, which meant they had been visible to senior leadership and then filed. Most of the document was standard. Then she reached the section on the Caldwell account. Under the question, who on the current team has the strongest conceptual fit for this brand profile? His annotation was 3 lines. E. Reyes. Not just the strongest conceptual fit, the strongest strategic reader on the marketing floor. She doesn't know what she is yet. Suggest tracking for lead position on next major acquisition cycle. She doesn't know what she is yet. She read it 3 times. She was not sure what she was feeling. Something between recognition and vertigo. The sensation of understanding that someone had seen you clearly and completely before you'd given them reason to. 18 months ago. He had written her name into a document before the Caldwell account existed, before the gala, before the arrangement. She sat at her desk for a long time. Then she sent Jade a message. "How long have you known Nathan was tracking my work?" Jade took 12 minutes to respond. Unusual. Then, "How did you find out?" Elena sent her the document. Jade. "Okay, so, a while, since before the gala." Elena. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jade. "Because you would have made it weird. You would have started performing again instead of just being yourself." Elena stared at this. She could not decide if she was grateful or furious. She understood the logic. She was not sure she agreed with the choice. Her office phone rang. The landline almost never rang. "Mrs. Cole would like to speak with you at your earliest convenience. Today, if possible." Elena looked at her calendar. What time? The assistant named a time 1 hour from then. She accepted. She told no one. The 42nd floor was all white glass and white roses, chosen, Elena suspected, to communicate something. Margaret was standing at the window. She turned when Elena entered. "Sit down." Margaret folded her hands across the table. "I want to be honest with you. I said this at dinner, so you know when I say it, I mean it." "All right." Nathan has not been in a meaningful relationship in 8 years, not since Serena. He has told himself this is by choice. She paused. "I believe him, and I don't. I think he decided at 26, after Serena left, that feeling things was inefficient. He is extraordinarily good at making pain into a policy." She looked at Elena, unguarded for the first time. "I did that to him. I know I did, and I am not proud of it." Elena was still. "What are you asking me?" "I'm asking you to be careful. Not for the deal. Not for me. He is different with you. I have watched him in meetings this week. He is present in a way he hasn't been since his father was alive." She looked at the white roses. "If you are going to leave at the end of 3 weeks, I need you to begin managing that distance now, before it costs him too much." Elena looked at Margaret Cole, formidable, lonely, honest, and said, "What if I don't want to leave?" Margaret went very still. "What if I told you I already know what this is becoming, and I'm not running from it, and I'm not confused? The only thing I'm afraid of is that the cost to him of being with someone from Queens, someone without a family name, someone your board would consider a liability, is a cost he would pay and then resent." Margaret stared at her. "Is that what you believe?" "I think it's possible." "Then you don't know my son as well as I thought." Margaret exhaled. "His father married a secretary from Ohio. No family name. She had exactly the kind of presence you have. The room gets quieter and clearer when she's in it. He loved her to absolute distraction. Nathan gets it from him." Elena said nothing. I have been afraid for 8 years that Nathan would spend his life alone because he decided he was safer that way. Margaret's voice shifted, just barely. And then I walk into a gala and I see him standing next to you and he looks... She stopped. He looks like his father. Like a man who has found his direction. Margaret Cole said, I am not asking you to leave. I am asking you to be sure. And Elena Reyes thought about his hand on her back, and the scarf on her counter, and the annotation from 18 months ago, and she thought, I am more sure than I have been of anything in years. The question is whether he knows it yet. Word count, Part 7. Approximately 820 words. Strateut. The roof. There are conversations that cannot happen inside. Elena found Nathan on the roof of the Cole Ventures building at 8:30 Thursday evening because Jade had texted, He's been up there an hour. I don't know what happened. His 7 p.m. canceled, and he went up. She brought 2 coffees from the office kitchen. She did not text ahead. He was at the east edge, looking at the city, jacket off despite the cold. He looked smaller without the office around him. Not small, just human. The way powerful people look when there's no room organizing itself around them. He heard her and turned. She held up the coffee. You've been up here an hour. He accepted the cup. How do you know that? Jade. Of course. He turned back to the edge. She came to stand beside him. Manhattan east and north. The East River at the far edge, a string of light. The Queensboro Bridge gold and white against the dark. My father used to bring me here, Nathan said. Not this roof. The old building. He sold it in 2004. But the idea of it. A high place where you could see the shape of things. He used to say you can't understand what something is when you're inside of it. She waited. The Harrington deal closes in 11 days. I know. Richard called me today. He said he hoped you'd be at the closing dinner. He said, Nathan paused. He said you steady me. Said it like a good thing. It is a good thing. Elena. He turned to her. The look was not measured or contained. It was just open. Like watching a door you'd assumed was a wall swing inward. I'm aware this arrangement was meant to serve a specific purpose. And I'm aware that the line between the arrangement and something else has... He stopped. He ran out of words. Nathan Cole ran out of words. She said, I know. What do you know exactly? That you've been trying for 2 weeks to say something you didn't budget for. He let out a breath that was almost a laugh. I found the archive document, she said. The one from 18 months ago. With my name in it. You've been watching my work for longer than the arrangement. And I don't think that was ever about the Harrington deal. Nathan set his coffee on the roof ledge, turned to face her fully. No, he said. It wasn't. How long? 18 months at least. He paused. You were in a meeting 14 months ago. The Easton pitch. The one that went 3 hours over. And there was a moment where everyone was going in the wrong direction, and you said one sentence and redirected the entire room without anyone feeling corrected. And I thought, she doesn't know what she is yet. Meaning not that you were incomplete, meaning you were more than even you understood. The wind moved between them. You could have said something, at any point. Why didn't you? Because you worked for me. And because I had decided, 8 years ago for reasons, that I was not going to ask someone to pay the cost of being with me. What cost? My mother, my world, the machinery of this family that grinds up anything not built for it. Elena looked at him. She thought about the girl from Queens who had spent her whole life calculating what things cost and deciding she could pay. Nathan. She held his gaze. I have never in my life needed someone to decide for me what I can afford. He went very still. She took one step toward him, then another. I am not performing. I am not confused. I am not here because of the arrangement. The arrangement stopped being the point 4 days in, and I think you know that. And I think the reason you haven't said anything is because you're afraid that when this is real and not staged, you'll feel it and not know what to do with it. She met his eyes. So feel it. I'll wait. The city moved below them. Nathan Cole looked at Elena Reyes with everything showing, every single thing stored behind glass for 8 years. Then he reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Slowly, with the care of someone handling something they've decided is irreplaceable. His thumb rested at her jaw. He kissed her. Not a performance, not for any room. Just the roof and the city and the cold October air. It was slow, honest, textured with something that had been waiting a long time to happen. When they separated, he kept his hand at her face and looked at her like a man reading something important. 11 days, he said. The deal closes and then nothing requires this of you. Nathan. She put her hand over his. Nothing is requiring it now. This is a choice I'm making. Are you? He searched her face. Yes, he said. And the city lay below them, indifferent and glittering, and neither of them looked at it. She went to work the next morning and nothing looked the same. That was the strange part. The building was identical. The lobby was granite and steel and morning light. The elevator rose to the 22nd floor with the same mechanical patience. Everything was exactly as it had been. And Elena Reyes walked through it knowing that last night on a rooftop, a man had kissed her with the conviction of someone who had been waiting to do exactly that for 18 months. Jade was at her desk. Iced coffee. She looked up once, and then looked back at her screen. Don't say anything, Elena said. I'm not saying anything. Jade scrolled something on her monitor. I'm just noting for the record that you're 15 minutes early, which you've never been on a Thursday, and you're wearing the earrings your mother gave you. That doesn't mean anything. No, it doesn't mean a single thing. Jade took a sip of her coffee. How's the roof? Elena stopped walking. How did you know it was the roof? I texted him this morning to find out if you two were alive. He said, and I quote, "The roof was the right place for that conversation." Jade looked at her. I have 18 data points now. Elena sat down and opened her laptop and said nothing, which said everything. At 10 o'clock, Nathan sent, "Good morning." She wrote back, "Good morning." Then, the roof was the right place. She looked at his words. Yes, it was. He wrote, I've been thinking about what you said, that the arrangement stopped being the point 4 days in. I want you to know that for me, it was earlier than that. I'm not sure it was ever the point for me. She read this several times, then wrote, when? His response was immediate. The scarf. When I put it around you and you didn't argue about it. She looked at the counter in her apartment in her mind. The scarf, still there. I didn't return it, she admitted. I know. He paused. I was waiting to see if you would. She laughed at her desk. Jade looked over. Good laugh or complicated laugh? Jade asked. Both, Elena said. She put her phone face down and opened the Caldwell file. The welcome home presentation was 5 days from final. She had work to do. But the work felt different today. Lighter, like something had been redistributed, a weight she'd been carrying alone that now had a second set of hands. She was deep in the demographics slide at 3 p.m. when the text came from an unknown number. I hear congratulations are in order. Marketing lead on Caldwell. Well done. Derek. She stared at it, then typed back. How did you get this number? He sent back a laughing emoji and nothing else. She forwarded the message to Nathan without comment. He responded in 90 seconds. I'll handle it. Don't reply. She didn't, but she sat with the feeling, that specific cold that Derek Walsh had always been able to produce in her, and noticed that this time it was smaller, less lodged, more like a distant weather report than something happening to her. She thought, that's what changes. Not the threat. Your relationship to it. She went back to the slide. At 7 p.m., she was still at her desk when she heard the elevator open on 22. His floor was 38. He almost never came to 22. He appeared in her office doorway with his jacket on and his briefcase in hand. Are you done? Almost. 10 minutes. He sat down in the chair across from her desk. He did not check his phone. He did not appear to find the waiting inconvenient. She finished the slide, closed the laptop. They walked out of the building together, not holding hands. Not in the building, but close. The November approaching air hit them at the door. He hailed a cab because she had missed the last express. In the cab she said, Derek texted me. I know. I saw. What are you going to do about it? Nathan looked at her with the exact quality of patience she had come to understand was not coldness. It was intention, controlled and purposeful. Nothing yet, he said. The best response to someone like Derek is to let him watch you be fine. She looked at him in the cab light. Thought, I have been waiting my whole life to hear that sentence from someone who would actually follow through on it. Derek Walsh was not a stupid man. He was clever in the specific way of people who have learned that information is power, and that most people give it away for free if you ask the right questions in the right tone. He had been watching Elena and Nathan since the gala. He had noted the ease between them, the hand at her back, the way Nathan looked at her. And Derek had watched Nathan Cole operate in the professional world long enough to know that Nathan Cole did not perform ease. He did not have the patience or the interest, which meant whatever existed between them was not invented for the room. This was a problem. Not because he wanted Elena back. He did not. But a genuine relationship between the lead marketing director and the CEO of Cole Ventures during the merger negotiations created complications he had not accounted for. Specifically, Elena becoming important enough to Nathan that her interests influenced his decisions. And Derek had spent 4 months positioning himself as a bridge between Harrington and Cole Ventures in a way that benefited Derek Walsh more than either company. That bridge required Nathan to remain in a specific state, alone, slightly eager to close, and grateful for the Harrington family's approval. So he went to Richard Harrington. He did not say anything directly. Derek never said anything directly if indirectly would do the same work. He mentioned, in the context of a longer conversation about deal timelines, that he had concerns about Nathan's current situation. Harrington raised an eyebrow. Derek mentioned, casually, that Elena Reyes had only recently ended a 2-year relationship, with Derek himself, though he did not say this. He mentioned that whirlwind arrangements during high-pressure periods were sometimes not what they appeared. He mentioned that Nathan Cole had a historical pattern of professional distance that might make a sudden public relationship, right at the moment of a major deal, look, to certain eyes, like a strategy rather than a reality. He did not say it was fake. He just said, I wonder about the timing. Richard Harrington said nothing. He thanked Derek for his candor. He ended the conversation. At 11 o'clock that evening, Margaret Cole received a call. She listened. She did not speak for most of it. At the end, she said, "I see. Thank you, Richard." She sat alone in her apartment on the Upper East Side. She thought about what Elena had said. "I am more sure than I have been of anything in years." And she thought about what Richard Harrington had just implied. And she thought about her son on the roof of his building, and whether this was real, and whether it was going to cost him everything anyway. She called Nathan at 11:15. He picked up on the second ring. "Richard has questions. About Elena. About the timing." Nathan said nothing for a moment. Then, "What kind of questions?" She told him. Another silence. "Who?" he said. She could tell he already knew. "Derek Walsh," she said. The silence after that was different. Not someone thinking, someone going very still in the way of people who have identified the source of a problem and are deciding how to address it. "My mother called." Nathan texted Elena at 11:45. Elena was in bed. She picked up her phone and read it. She typed, "What happened?" He told her. Briefly, precisely. No softening, no editorializing, just the shape of the problem. Elena sat up in the dark. Harrington has doubts about whether the relationship is real. She held the phone. She thought about the roof. She thought about what was real and what wasn't. The line between them had dissolved so gradually, she had not noticed the exact moment it happened. Then she wrote, "It is real." "I know that," Nathan wrote back. "Then what's the question? The question is what you want to do next, because Harrington is going to ask to meet with you. Directly. And if you say yes, you should know it will make this very public and will mean dealing with everything that comes with it. My world is not an easy world to be in." Elena sat in the dark of her apartment. She thought about her mother on the fire escape in Queens, the city moving below them, the distance making it easier to say the true thing. She thought about what things were worth. Then she wrote, "Tell Harrington I'll meet with him. And Nathan, I stopped calculating the cost the night on the roof. This is not a debt I'm trying to balance. This is just where I want to be." He did not respond right away. When he did, it was 2 words. "Thank you." She fell asleep with her phone in her hand. Across the city, Derek Walsh refreshed his phone and saw nothing, and understood, with the particular intelligence of a man who has just miscalculated, that he may have started something he cannot control. Richard Harrington was not what she had expected. She had read the file. 71. Silver-haired. Yale. Third-generation money. A reputation for being shrewd and patient and almost never wrong about people. She had expected the architectural version of Margaret, all surface and precision. He was, instead, a man who shook her hand and said, "I've heard a great deal about your Caldwell work." The welcome home concept is exactly the kind of thinking this industry needs. His office was 40 floors up in the Harrington Tower on 5th Avenue, a view of Central Park so perfect it seemed almost unreasonable. He poured her coffee himself and told his assistant to hold his calls. Nathan was not there. By Elena's request. She had told him the night before, "I should do this alone." He had been quiet for a moment. Then, "All right, Mr. Harrington. I understand you have questions." He settled back with the ease of a man who had been having important conversations for 50 years. "I want to be direct with you, Miss Reyes. I've been told your relationship with Nathan Cole began 3 weeks ago, immediately before the completion of a deal that benefits you both. I've been told the timing is suspicious." He paused. "And I've been told this by someone whose judgment I should perhaps have weighed more carefully before giving him my daughter." Who told you? He smiled. I'd rather discuss what I know. He looked at her. You are not someone who performs. I've watched you in 3 social settings now. Most people, when they know they're being watched, adjust. You don't. That is either remarkable confidence or remarkable authenticity, and I've been in business long enough to know they look different. Elena held his gaze. Let me tell you how it started, she said. She told him everything. Not as a confession, as a story told cleanly. The gala, the panic, the agreement and the terms, the Caldwell account, the whiteboard at 11 p.m., the archived document from 18 months ago with her name in it, the dinner with Margaret, the roof. Richard Harrington listened without expression. When she finished, he said, the kiss at the gala. Not for the room, not after the first week. He nodded slowly. When did it become real? I'm not sure it was ever entirely not, she said. It just took a while to say so. He was quiet. Then, my daughter's engagement began as practical and became, she has told herself, something like love. I have watched that process. I know what it looks like when feeling is real and when it is a story we tell ourselves, because the alternative is complicated. What I saw on your face 3 seconds ago when you said the word roof is not a story. The coal men, he said, fall in love the way they do business. Quietly, completely, and without any ability to undo it. Nathan's mother told me that years ago. She meant it as a warning. He paused. I always thought it sounded like the best possible thing. He poured her more coffee. The deal will close on schedule. I have no further questions about the relationship. He looked at her steadily. My only question, Miss Reyes, and you don't have to answer it here, is whether you are prepared for what being Nathan Cole's actual partner means. Not the arrangement. The real thing. Elena thought about Queens and the subway and the gray dress and the man who had put his scarf around her neck in the October wind. Yes, she said. Harrington nodded once. The way of someone closing a file. Then tell him. Explicitly. Men like Nathan assume good things are temporary. It's what they were trained to expect. You'll need to say it more than once. Elena stood. One more thing, she said. He waited. Derek Walsh told you this to protect an arrangement that benefits him. I'd suggest that when the merger closes, you look carefully at the role he's positioned himself to play in it. Richard Harrington looked at her for a long moment. I already am, he said. She rode the elevator down alone, stood in the lobby of the Harrington Tower, looked out at Fifth Avenue and the gold of the trees in the park and the cold, clear sky. She called Nathan. He picked up on the first ring. How did it go? Good. She paused. He told me something. That men like you assume good things are temporary. That I'll need to say it more than once. Say what? That I'm not leaving. She let the city hold her. That this isn't the arrangement anymore. That I want the real version. I want it with you. The silence on the other end was not empty. It was full. Then Nathan Cole said very quietly, I've wanted to hear that since the night on the roof, since before that, since the day you walked into my office and told me the demographic targeting was too conservative, and I thought, she's right about everything. It came out on a Friday, not through Harrington, not through Margaret, through a business gossip newsletter. One of those New York insider columns with a list that included half of Manhattan's financial sector, suggesting that the CEO of Cole Ventures had entered a staged romantic relationship to secure a major merger deal, and that the woman involved was a junior employee who had been compensated with a preferential account assignment. Elena saw it at 7:15 in the morning. Her phone lit up with Jade's name before she'd finished the first paragraph. Jade. I'm going to need you to breathe. She read the whole thing. 3 paragraphs, anonymous sourcing, framed as questions. But the question format was itself a performance. It gave deniability, while the content landed like fact. Junior employee, compensated, staged. She sat on her bed in Astoria and felt the particular cold of something that has been building and has finally arrived. He picked up on the second ring. I've seen it. It came from Derek. I know. His voice was level, the very specific levelness of someone controlling something with effort. I'm handling it. How? Documentation. The archive memo predates the arrangement by 18 months. The Caldwell assignment is merit-based and on record. He paused. Rachel Winslow is the byline. She's legitimate. This is not the newsletter. This is someone following up on it. I have a call with her editor in 20 minutes. Elena, I'm sorry. He said it without the softness of someone managing her, with the seriousness of someone who understands that words cost something. This should not have reached you. She thought about what Derek had written. You were better off with me, and what she had typed back, and how she had meant it completely. I'm not running, she said. I want you to know I know where this came from, and I'm not... Elena. He paused. I know. She went to the office. Jade was already there. Iced coffee, no smile this time. The coffee is emotional support today, Jade said. I see that. Are you okay? Elena thought about the roof, about Richard Harrington's office and his closed file, about Nathan's voice 20 minutes ago. Yes, I'm not going to let him make this small. What we have is not small. She picked up her bag. I'm going up. She took the elevator to 38. Nathan's assistant showed her in. He was at the window, east-facing, the river visible, and turned when she came in. He looked tired in the specific way of someone who has been managing something difficult. When he saw her, his expression did the thing it had been doing more lately. It settled. He crossed the room. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her, and she let him look. I'm not embarrassed, she said. I want you to know that. I'm not going to be embarrassed about what we are. The piece can say what it says. I know what's true. Nathan reached out and took her hand. Not dramatically. Just took it. Held it. The way you hold something you've decided to keep. What Derek did is going to cost him. Trust me on that. I trust you. He tightened his hand. Good. Because I need you to stay in the room while I burn this down properly. The phrase almost made her laugh. So entirely him. Not dramatic, just precise. I'm going to burn this down properly. The most Nathan Cole sentence she had ever heard. I'll be in the room, she said. He kissed her forehead, then her mouth. Outside the glass, the city went about its business without knowing or caring what it meant, which is the best thing about cities. It happened 3 days before the deal was set to close, which is when things like this always happen. Nathan was in back-to-back meetings from 7 a.m. Elena was running the Caldwell final presentation that same afternoon, the make-or-break pitch to the hotel's senior leadership, the room she had been building toward for 3 weeks. She was in the prep room on 22 with her team at 10 o'clock when Gregory Whitmore came in. He had not been openly hostile since the account transfer. He had been contained, doing his job, keeping his distance. She had respected that. She did not need him to be happy about it. At 10 o'clock, he set his iPad on the table, open to the newsletter piece. I think we should talk about the account, he said. I'm not trying to start anything. But the piece raises a question, and other people on this team have the same question, about whether this assignment was merit-based or it was merit-based. Based on what? He pointed at the iPad. Because based on what's being reported, based on 18 months of documented work that Nathan Cole tracked independently before any of what you're reading existed. She kept her voice even. I can show you the archive document if that's useful. The decision to assign me this account was made before the gala. Before any of it. Gregory was quiet. She looked around the table at her junior team. 3 people. Very still. I'm going to say this once. Not to defend myself to you, to be clear for the room. She picked up her Mont Blanc. I earned this account. The work in this deck is mine and my team's. We will deliver it this afternoon, and it will be excellent. I will not be spending any more of this morning's prep time on whether I deserve the chair I'm in. She looked at the screen. Slide 12. Let's talk through the visual identity section. She ran the room. She was good at it, and she let herself be good at it. Gregory Whitmore left after 40 minutes. He did not come back. The presentation that afternoon was exceptional. The Caldwell leadership responded exactly the way she had known they would respond to the welcome home concept, with recognition and relief. The way people respond when someone names a thing they have been feeling but could not articulate. She answered every question. She deflected nothing. Afterward, Nathan texted, I heard the Caldwell presentation went well. How did you hear? You were in meetings all day. David Park called me. He was in the audience as Harrington's observer. He said, and I'm quoting, your woman knocked it out of the park. She smiled. He said, your woman. He's 73 and from Connecticut. It was meant as a compliment. I know. She paused. Tell him thank you. At 8 p.m. after the team had gone home, her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't pick up. A woman, Rachel Winslow. A journalist at a legitimate Manhattan business publication, one Elena had read for years. Miss Reyes, I'm following up on a story about the Cole-Harrington merger. I have a source who says the relationship between you and Nathan Cole was a staged arrangement, begun specifically to influence Richard Harrington's approval of the deal. The source says they have documentation of the original agreement. Elena went very still. Documentation, an email exchange, outlining the terms, including the Caldwell account as compensation. We run tomorrow morning. Elena's chest felt cold. She thought about the email. She thought about what had been written. She thought about the word compensation. Thank you. I'll have a statement to you by tomorrow. She hung up. She sat in the empty room. Only 2 people have that email, me and Nathan, which means... She stopped herself. She knew where that thought was going. She knew it came from the wound, not from the evidence. But knowing the origin of a fear does not stop it from operating. She sat there a long time. Then she called Jade. Jade, are you calling because of what I think you're calling about? Elena, how did you know? Jade, Rachel Winslow called the main line 20 minutes ago for Nathan. His assistant flagged it to me. Elena, Nathan is going to fix this. Elena, the email, Jade. Jade, I know. He is going to fix this, Jade said, very quietly. You know who he is now. You've seen him in every room for 2 weeks. You know who he is. Don't let Derek Walsh make you forget. She did not go home. She went to Central Park. 9:30 p.m. The park mostly empty, trees stripped halfway, the paths lit by lamps that suggested safety without entirely providing it. She sat on a bench near the conservatory garden, gates locked at dark, but she could see the outline through the iron, the last of the season's chrysanthemums gray in the lamplight. She had her coat. Her phone face down on the bench beside her. She thought about her father. She didn't think about him often by design, but in the moments of maximum exposure, she always found herself back there. Back at 12 years old. Back at the week after he left, when her mother had reorganized the kitchen to put the breakfast foods on a lower shelf so Elena could reach them herself in the mornings. A practical adjustment. Made without drama, which was how her mother handled everything. But Elena had understood the subtext. We are doing this without him now. Reach for what you need yourself. She had been reaching ever since. The problem, and she was only now beginning to understand this, was that self-sufficiency, taken far enough, becomes a closed circuit. You stop leaving room for anyone to give you anything, because you've already decided you can get it yourself. And because getting it yourself requires never being caught in the moment of needing. She heard footsteps on the path. She knew them. She picked up her phone, turned it over. 6 missed calls from Nathan. He sat down on the bench beside her. He had come from the office, still in the dark suit, no coat, which in October in New York was a choice that indicated urgency and the complete absence of preparatory thought. How did you know where I was? She nodded. The email came from my account, he said. His voice had the texture of someone who had been working something out at speed. My assistant had access to my primary account this week for logistical reasons. Derek reached her, I don't know exactly how. She would not have done it intentionally. But there was a conversation, and access was implied, and she forwarded a folder of correspondence to what she thought was a request from my office. The folder included that email. Elena turned to look at him. It was not me. I need you to know that. I know that for a moment you thought, I know it wasn't you, she said. He exhaled. I knew. She looked at the dark outline of the garden. I know who you are. I got scared, not of you, of wanting something this much and having it be fragile. He was quiet. Nothing about you is junior, he said. I need that on record. However this story gets written, and I'm already on the phone with their editor, and I have documentation that predates the arrangement and proves the account transfer was merit-based. I need you to know that I have never in 2 years thought of you as anything less than the most capable person in this building. She said, Nathan. He stopped. I know all of that. She looked at him. The part that got to me was, is this going to keep happening? Someone who wants to unmake it. Derek, or your mother before she changed her mind. Or the next person who decides that Elena Reyes from Queens is an inconvenient variable in Nathan Cole's life. Nathan turned to face her fully. No coat in October. Cold. Very, very certain. Yes, he said. It will keep happening. My world is not clean or simple, and there will always be someone who wants something from me that runs through you. I cannot promise it won't happen again. What I can promise is that every single time it does, I will be beside you. Not in front of you, not behind you, deciding what you can handle. Beside you. She looked at him. I have spent 8 years deciding the cost of caring about someone was too high. He looked at the locked garden. You showed me that the cost of not caring is higher. I don't want a life where I've protected myself into loneliness. He met her eyes. You are not a variable I want to eliminate. You are the one thing in this that is real. The park was very quiet. She leaned her head against his shoulder. He put his arm around her. They sat in the October dark, the city moving around them, the garden locked behind its iron gate. He was cold. She wasn't going to mention that. "You didn't bring a coat," she said. "I didn't think about it. You ran out of the building. I walked quickly. With purpose." She laughed, the bright, surprised laugh she had not known she had until him. He pressed his mouth to her hair, and she felt, for the first time in a very long time, that she had reached for something, and it had reached back. Word count, part 14. Approximately 730 words. Part 15. Derek's last move. Richard Harrington called Derek Walsh into his office on a Tuesday afternoon. This account reached Elena through Cassandra, who called her that evening with the blunt directness of a woman who had been doing her own calculating. "He told me what he did," Cassandra said. "Or enough of it. He didn't tell me about the email. I found that out from Daddy. But he told me about the newsletter tip. He said he was protecting the deal." A pause. "He said a lot of things that were technically true and functionally dishonest, which I think is just how he operates." Elena waited. "I called off the engagement this morning," Cassandra said. Elena sat down. "I'm not saying this for sympathy. I'm saying it because you should know that your ex-boyfriend just lost the most significant leverage point he had in this situation. He was about to become family. Now he's becoming a liability. And Daddy is not gentle with liabilities." "He moved fast," Elena said. "My father has been reading people for 50 years. He knew the moment Derek made his play that it was a play. He just needed to confirm the direction." "I'm sorry about the engagement." "I'm not," Cassandra said, "which tells you something. How are things with Nathan?" "Real," Elena said. "Actually real." "Good." Cassandra sounded like she meant it. "He deserves something real. He's been alone a long time." They talked for another 10 minutes, genuinely, without the weight of competition or history. Cassandra was smart, dry, funnier than Elena had expected. She thought, in a different configuration, without Derek, they might have been friends. Maybe they would be anyway. "Hold on," Elena said. Derek had sent a text. It said, "I hope you know what you're walking into. The Cole family doesn't let go of people cleanly. I've seen what they do. You were better off with me. I hope you remember that when this falls apart." She read it twice, put down her phone, said to Cassandra, "He just texted me. What did he say? That I was better off with him." A beat of silence. Was he charming when he said it? By text. Just subtext. "Right," Cassandra said. "That's Derek. Even the threats are charming, which is why they take so long to see." Another pause. "You saw them?" "I did." "Good." Elena looked out her window at the Astoria streetlights. She typed back to Derek, "I hope you find what you're looking for." She thought for a moment, then added, "I mean that genuinely, but I am not it. I haven't been for a long time." She sent it. She did not wait for a reply. He picked up immediately. "I heard about Cassandra," Elena told him. "I'm sorry she's hurting," Nathan said. "She said she's not," Elena said, and she meant it. He was quiet a moment. "Derek texted you." "Of course he did." Elena thought about the park bench, his arm around her, the cold he had walked out into without a coat. "Better than okay," she said. "I've been thinking about something." "Tell me," she took a breath. "After the deal closes, after all of this, I want to know what this looks like when it doesn't have a deadline, when there's no gala, no merger, no strategic necessity, just us in the actual world." She paused. "I want to know if it holds." Nathan was quiet in the thinking way, the kind that meant he was choosing words with the care they deserved. I've been thinking about that too, he said. I think it holds. He paused. I think it gets stronger. Why? Because under pressure, Elena said, you showed me who you are. And who you are is worth it, she said simply. All of it. The complicated family and the powerful world and the decade of walls. Worth it. She heard him exhale slowly. I've been worth it for a while, he said, then quieter. I just needed someone who could see past the surface to the part that still hoped. The Rachel Winslow story ran on a Thursday. Not the staged relationship piece. A different piece entirely. The headline, The Woman Behind Cole Ventures' Most Profitable Campaign Relaunch. 3 photographs. One of Elena at the Caldwell presentation, one of the hotel's transformed lobby, and one that Jade had not known was being taken. Elena at her desk at 8 a.m. MacBook open, coffee at her elbow, 3 notebooks. Just the truth. The story was factual and full. 2 years at Cole Ventures. The Caldwell account assigned based on 18 months of documented performance. Nathan Cole had formally written her name into the account's future, long before any public attention had focused on their relationship. David Park, Harrington's attorney, calling the Welcome Home campaign the most intelligent brand repositioning this industry has seen in a decade. And Nathan Cole and Elena had not known he had given the interview, saying, Elena Reyes has been the most consequential hire this company has made in 5 years. That assessment has nothing to do with anything but the work. It did not mention Derek. It did not need to. Jade sent her the link at 7:15 with a string of fire emojis. Elena sat at her kitchen table in Astoria and read the whole thing. When she finished, she called her mother. Her mother picked up on the 3rd ring, voice still thick with sleep. Mija, it's early, I know. I just wanted to hear your voice. A pause. Her mother's voice sharpened with the particular attention of a woman who has learned to read her daughter's tone. What happened? Something good? Elena said. Something really good. I've been working on something. A big account. And it worked. The way you're supposed to hope things work. Her mother was quiet. Tell me, she said. So Elena did. She told her about the hotel and the concept and the presentation, the early morning notes, the whiteboard, the 11 o'clock Thai food, the man who had said she didn't know what she was yet, meaning she was more than even she understood. She did not say everything. She said enough. Her mother listened the way she always listened, fully, without interrupting, the way of someone who has learned that attention is the most useful thing you can offer. When Elena finished, her mother said, You sound like yourself. What? Like yourself. The way you used to sound when you were little and you figured something out. You got so quiet, and then you'd tell me and you'd sound like the whole room got clearer. She paused. Do you remember what I used to say? Elena remembered. There it is. There's the true thing. There it is, Elena said quietly. Yes, her mother said. There it is. After the call, Elena looked at the article on her phone. She looked at the scarf on her counter, still there. She texted Nathan. I read the piece. He responded in 30 seconds. I hope it felt like what it was. What was it? Just the truth. Told plainly. He paused. You've been telling the truth plainly since I met you. I figured the record should match. She typed, You told Winslow you hired me based on the work. You could have mentioned us. He wrote, You earned the account before we were anything. That's not something I'd blur for narrative convenience. He paused. Also, I don't give personal information to journalists before I've given it to the person it concerns. What does that mean? It means I wanted to tell you first. What this is, for me. Not for the record. He stopped. Then the message came slowly, as if he was typing carefully. I've been in love with you since the demographic targeting comment. I know that's precise. I know it sounds strange, but I remember the exact moment. It felt like something clicking into place that I hadn't known was unaligned. Elena Reyes sat at her kitchen table in Astoria and read that message 3 times, then typed, "You called it inefficient once. Feeling things. I was wrong about that." She wrote, "I've been in love with you since the scarf, since I couldn't give it back." He wrote, "I know. I noticed you still had it." She laughed out loud. "Of course you noticed. I notice everything about you." He paused. "I have for 18 months. It has frankly been exhausting." She picked up the scarf from the counter and held it and thought, there it is. There's the true thing. Margaret Cole called Elena on a Friday morning and asked to have lunch. Without Nathan. Is that something you're willing to do? Elena thought about what Jade would say. This is either a trap or a pivot, and either way you have to go. Yes, Elena said. They met at the River Cafe in Brooklyn, Margaret's choice, which surprised Elena, across the bridge, away from the towers and the offices and the particular Manhattan geography of power. The cafe sat at the edge of the water with a view of the skyline, and in the October noonlight, the city looked like something you could hold. Margaret was already there. She was not wearing black, a soft gray coat. Without the precision of her armor, she looked like a woman in her 60s who had done a great deal of difficult things and was finally resting. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," they ordered. Margaret looked at the water. "I had a conversation with Richard Harrington, not about the deal. He told me what you said in that meeting, that Derek had positioned himself to benefit from the merger." She paused. "I had suspected something of the kind, but had not confirmed it. And I will admit, I did not investigate as quickly as I should have, because I was distracted by my own concerns about Nathan. You thought I was the problem. I thought you were a complication. Which is not the same thing, but amounts to it in practice." She looked at Elena directly. "I have spent 30 years engineering my son's life for success. I thought I was protecting him. What I was doing was making sure he never had access to anything that might actually make him happy." "He's different with you," Margaret said. "I said that before, but I want to say it more precisely. He's present. He makes jokes, not the dry, efficient kind, the kind that means he's not managing himself for the room." She looked at her hands. His father was like that, for the first years. When we were still, he was easy with people, she said. Warm. It was his gift. Nathan got his father's intelligence, but not his warmth, and I told myself that was because intelligence was more useful. She looked up. I was wrong. I was wrong about most of the things that mattered most. "He's going to be okay," Elena said. "He's already becoming okay." Margaret nodded once. "I owe you an apology for the way I spoke to you at dinner, for treating you as a variable in a calculation rather than a person." She paused. "You are not a variable. You are exactly what he needs, and you have been exactly who you are from the first moment I met you, which is something I have never been able to say for most people in his world." Elena exhaled. "I accept the apology." And Margaret, she met the older woman's eyes. "I'm going to be difficult, not with you specifically, but I don't disappear, I don't defer. I'm going to have opinions. I'm not going to pretend I'm from a world I'm not from, and I am not going to perform for your board or anyone else." Margaret almost smiled. "I would be appalled if you did." They ate lunch. The view was extraordinary. The city stood on the water, and the light moved across it. At the end, Margaret said, "Nathan's father used to say that the most useful thing in a person was directness. He said most people spend their whole lives hiding the thing they want to say, and by the time they say it, the moment has passed." She paused. "He would have liked you." Elena felt something quiet and warm settle in her chest. "I hope so," she said. "He would have," Margaret said, "completely." On the way home, Elena stopped at the cart on the Brooklyn side of the bridge and bought a coffee. She stood in the October air with the skyline behind her. She texted Jade. "Margaret and I had lunch." Jade's response came in 10 seconds. "I need everything." Elena wrote, "It was good." She apologized. "I think she means it." Elena, "And I think Nathan Cole got his father's warmth after all. He just needed someone to unlock it." Elena pocketed her phone, finished her coffee, and walked toward the subway with the feeling of a woman who has stopped moving against the current and is learning, for the first time, what it feels like to swim in the direction she actually wants to go. The deal was closing in 18 hours. Nathan was still in the office at 9:30 p.m. Elena knew this because she was still in the office at 9:30 p.m., finishing the final Caldwell deliverable documentation. They had a standing arrangement, begun on day 3, never formalized, entirely reliable, of leaving together when they were both working late. She knocked on his open door. He was at the standing desk, reviewing the monitor. He looked up. "Almost done." "Take your time." She sat on the small couch and opened her laptop and worked. He worked. The city moved outside the glass. The building was quiet around them. This was what it actually looked like. No gala, no performance, no strategic requirement. Just two people who had found something real, working in the same room, comfortable in the silence of people who don't need to fill space to occupy it together. After 30 minutes, Nathan closed his laptop. He came and sat on the couch beside her, not across from her in the chair, beside her. Close. He leaned his head back and looked at the ceiling. "How do you feel?" she said. "Tired. Ready for it to be over." "After tomorrow?" "After tomorrow, I want a week with no events. No galas, no dinners, no conversations where I'm being observed." He paused. "I want to take you somewhere that doesn't require a reservation 3 months in advance. I want to go to Central Park on a Saturday and not be working." He turned his head to look at her. "I want to see what this is when it's just ordinary, no deadline." She set down her laptop. "What do you think it will be?" He looked at her with the openness she had been given in increasing increments over 3 weeks. The door he had been slowly unlocking, the parts of himself he kept giving her like he was finally sure they would be safe. "I think it will be everything," he said simply. "I think that's what terrifies me and what I want most." She took his hand. "Nathan, I have been afraid of being left my whole life. You know that. You know where it comes from." She held his hand. "I am choosing to not be afraid of this. A decision made consciously, based on evidence." She met his eyes. "You are the most reliable person I have ever been close to. You say what you mean and do what you say, and you have never once made me feel small. I am not afraid of ordinary with you. I am looking forward to ordinary with you." He turned her hand over in his. "I have a confession," he said. "I did not initially think, when I walked across that gala to stand beside you, that I was going to agree to a fake relationship. He paused. I walked over because you were the only person in that room I wanted to stand next to. The ex-boyfriend was an excuse to do what I had already decided to do. I told myself it was professional courtesy. She could feel it coming. It was not professional courtesy. She laughed. You walked over because you wanted to stand next to me. I have been finding reasons to stand next to you for 18 months. You just finally gave me an official one. She was still smiling when he kissed her, and this kiss was not the roof. The roof had been tentative and electric, full of things not yet said. This was familiar, easy. The kiss of people who have been finding each other a long time and have finally stopped pretending they weren't. When he pulled back, he was smiling too, one of the rarest things in his face, and therefore the most disarming. The Caldwell campaign launches in January, she said. I want to be there. On the launch day. At the hotel. You will be. He paused. I want to be there too. As my date? As everything, he said. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and he put his arm around her, and they sat in his office with the city below them, and the deal closing in the morning, and all of it, the noise and strategy and performance and complication, becoming simply background. This, Elena thought, this is the welcome home. Jade texted at 10:17. Are you two still in the building? Elena typed back. Yes. Jade. I need you to know I called this on day 2. Elena. You called it before the first gala was over? Jade sent the evidence board. All of it. 17 entries now. Elena laughed and showed Nathan the phone, and he read it carefully and then said, She's right about the elevator. I held it on purpose, and Elena looked at him and thought, there it is. There's the true thing. And it was the best thing she had ever been given. November 9th arrived the way important days always do. Ordinary on the surface. Coffee, subway noise, the quiet of the building at 7 a.m. before the rest of the world caught up. The signing was at 10 o'clock in the Cole Ventures boardroom. Elena was not in the room. This was a principal signing. Nathan and Richard Harrington and their legal teams. She was at her desk on 22, running the Caldwell final documentation. She was where she was supposed to be. At 10:47, her phone buzzed. Nathan. Done. She looked at the 2 letters, typed, How do you feel? He wrote, Like the next chapter just started. She wrote, Good chapter or great chapter. He wrote, Remains to be seen. I'd like your help writing it. She smiled. Jade, across the office, caught the smile and made a face. Elena shook her head. The reception that evening was at the plaza. Nathan's assistant had sent the invitation 3 days prior with a note. Nathan asked me to confirm your attendance personally. She wore the emerald dress again. She had decided she liked it. Richard Harrington found her within the first 20 minutes. He was holding champagne and looking more relaxed than she had ever seen him in a business setting. Miss Reyes. Or do I call you Elena now? Elena is fine. He clinked his glass against hers. Congratulations on the Caldwell campaign. The welcome home concept is... He paused, choosing his words with the seriousness of a man who does not give compliments lightly. It's the real thing. It's going to matter to people. That's the goal. Your mother's idea. The way she said this is how it should feel. Nathan told me, Richard said simply. He tells the story well, like a man who understood the first time he heard it exactly why it mattered. She found Nathan across the room, in conversation with his attorneys. The moment she found him, he found her, as if he had been tracking the room with her in mind, and looked at her. The stillness, the settling, the room getting quieter. He excused himself and crossed to her. The party continued around them, and they stood in the center of it, close. He said, "Harrington just offered you a strategic advisory role with two of his subsidiary hotel brands." She stared at him. "I told him," Nathan continued, "that the decision was entirely yours and your value was not something he was going to get by asking me." He paused. He agreed. "He's calling you directly next week. You didn't negotiate it for me. It's not mine to negotiate." He looked at her. "You are not a package deal with me, Elena. You are your own." She thought about Derek, who had always subtly folded her into his narrative, who had referred to her as "my girlfriend who works in marketing" instead of as herself. Nathan Cole looked at her like she was a person who existed entirely independent of him and was extraordinary for it. She said, "Dance with me." He blinked. The rare kind of surprise. The genuine kind. "Right now." "There's a floor," she said, "and they're playing something slow, and you just closed a 9-figure deal. Dance with me." He looked at her for a moment, a man rapidly deciding that every rule he had set for himself about public displays of non-professional behavior was not in fact a rule, but a wall he had built around something he was afraid of. He took her hand. They danced. Not perfectly, he was precise, but dancing was not a boardroom, and she laughed once when he misstepped, and he said quietly, "This is outside my area of expertise," and she said, "So was falling in love, and you seem to be managing." And he looked at her with all of it showing, every bit, no glass, no distance. Margaret was near the bar. She watched them dance. Her face was something Elena couldn't fully read from across the room, but she thought, quiet and glad, and finally, and a little broken in the way of people who are healing. Jade was in the corner with her iced coffee. She had insisted on bringing one to the plaza, on principle. "Item 17, she typed. "They are dancing at the Harrington closing reception, and he is smiling the way you smile when you've stopped trying to manage your own happiness, and are just allowing it." She looked at the screen, added, "Final conclusion. Not a disaster. Best possible outcome." And on the dance floor at the plaza, with the city outside the tall windows, and November in the air, and everything that had been pretend now entirely real, Elena Reyes and Nathan Cole held each other and were finally, exactly themselves. 2 weeks after the deal closed, on a Saturday morning in November, Elena and Nathan walked in Central Park. No gala, no cameras, no Harrington, no Derek, no strategic calculation. He was in a charcoal coat. She was in the red coat she'd owned for 3 years. They had coffee from the cart at 72nd Street and were talking about the Caldwell launch, 6 weeks away, and a book he had given her. She had finally read Meditations. All of it. She had underlined every passage about the discipline of not suffering beyond the present moment, and had texted him 3 of them at 7 a.m. on different mornings, and he had responded to each with one sentence that was somehow both precise and personal. They passed the conservatory garden. The gates were open in the daytime. He pulled her through. The garden in November was almost bare. Summer flowers gone, formal beds resting, the fountain still. But the structure of it remained. The paths that converged at the center. The sense of a space designed for something important. He stopped at the fountain. She stood beside him. "I have been thinking," he said, "about what you said. About knowing what something is when you're inside of it versus above it. Your father's idea." "Yes." He paused. "I think I've been above my own life for a long time, looking at the shape of it from a distance and calling that wisdom." He turned to her. "You brought me into it. You made it interior. Warm." She looked at him. Nathan Cole in the November garden. speaking in full sentences about the interior of his life. 3 weeks ago, this would have been impossible. "I want to tell you something," she said. "I spent a long time believing that love was a deficit, that wanting it meant you were not sufficient on your own." She looked at the bare garden. "My father left, and I decided the lesson was, do not need anyone enough that their leaving breaks you." She exhaled, and I got very good at being self-sufficient, and also very lonely. He tightened his hand. "You didn't need me," she said. "You were clear about what the arrangement was. But from the second week I wanted to need you, and that terrified me." She met his eyes. "It doesn't terrify me now. I am choosing to need you. Not because I can't function alone. Because needing someone who is genuinely worth it is not a deficit. It's..." She searched for the word. "It's the point." He looked at her for a long moment with everything showing. All of it, every piece of Nathan Cole that had been stored behind glass for 8 years. "I need you," he said. Simply, the way he said everything that mattered. "I need you to know that when I stood beside you at that gala, I was not performing. I was doing the thing I had been wanting to do for 18 months. Stand next to you and let the room know that you were mine." He paused. "I understand I was supposed to ask before deciding that." She laughed. "You were. I'm asking now." He looked at her with the smallest possible smile. The one she had learned was the most real. He reached into his coat pocket and she tensed. But it was not a ring. It was a small folded piece of paper, which he held out to her. She took it, unfolded it. The memo. The archive memo from 18 months ago, the one with her name. But this copy had something written at the bottom, in the clean, precise script she recognized from meeting notes and boardroom documents. She read it. E. Reyes. Not just the best person for this account. The best thing to happen to this company, and to me. I was slow to say so. I am saying so now. "I've been carrying that around since you found the original," he said, trying to decide when to give it to you. He paused. "There is no strategic moment. There's just this one." The garden was very quiet. She stepped forward and put her arms around him, and he folded her into his coat, and they stood in the conservatory garden with the fountain and the bare trees and the thin gold light. And it was entirely ordinary and entirely extraordinary, which is the best thing love can be. She thought about the girl from Queens, who took the subway to events where she didn't belong, and did the work, and believed, for so long, that being enough was something you earned, rather than something you already were. She thought about Welcome Home, the concept, the campaign, the way her mother had said, "This is how it should always feel." This is how it feels, she thought. Right here. The lesson, and Marcus Aurelius would have had one, was this. The obstacle was not the family, or the ex, or the arrangement, or the gap between Queens and Park Avenue. The obstacle was the belief that she was not enough. And the moment she stopped fighting that belief and simply lived as if it were not true, everything else rearranged itself. You were always enough. You were always the story worth telling. You just had to let someone read it. If this story moved you, leave a comment. Tell someone who needs to hear it that the love they're afraid of is probably the one that's real. Subscribe if you want to see what happens next. Because this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the ordinary life they both finally chose. And that, it turns out, is the best kind of story. The one where the happy ending is not the conclusion, but the opening chapter of everything that actually matters. And so the story closes. But hey, if you're still here right now, still watching at this point in the video, that tells me something. Something in this story touched you. Maybe it was Elena's quiet strength, the girl who worked twice as hard and still doubted herself. Maybe it was Nathan, a man so afraid of being hurt that he built walls and called them wisdom. Or maybe it was just the feeling of watching two people finally stop pretending and choose to be real with each other. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Elena didn't find love by becoming someone else. She found it by refusing to shrink. And Nathan didn't open up because the world became safer. He opened up because one person made being real feel worth the risk. That's the lesson, friends. Self-sufficiency is a survival skill, but chosen vulnerability? That's courage. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not the girl from the wrong neighborhood or the man who waited too long. You are exactly enough. For the right person, at the right moment, when you finally stop performing and just show up as yourself. If this story moved you even a little, drop a comment below. Tell me which moment hit hardest. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe and hit that bell. Every single one of you showing up here makes this worth creating. See you in the next story. A quick note before you go, and I want to be completely honest with you, because you deserve that. This is a fictional story, created for entertainment and emotional storytelling. Elena, Nathan, Derek, and every character you met today are not real people. The events, the companies, the conversations, all of it was crafted by our creative team to give you an experience worth your time. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is entirely coincidental. The locations mentioned, Central Park, the Plaza, Park Avenue, are real places, used only as storytelling backdrop to bring the world of the story to life. We create these stories because we believe in the power of narrative to help people feel seen, process their own experiences, and find meaning in shared human emotions. That mission is always honest, even when the story itself is fiction. Thank you for trusting us with your time. That trust is never something we take lightly. With love, your storytelling team.